It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
I want to welcome to the program once again State Representative Robin Lundstrum is on the line this morning. Robin, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. Go ahead and remind the audience, District 87 is where?
That is Siloam Springs, Elm Springs, Tawnytown, and Springdale. It's easy to remember. It's District 87, Made in Heaven.
All right, there we go. I remember that from last time. Okay, so Robin, the minimum wage, it's going to increase. It has increased. It really seems to increase every January because of legislation that's passed or something that gets on the ballot that's then put into statute. And it's really tough on our small businesses. We have small businesses in this state, owners, they're minorities compared to the rest of the people that are just voting, more and more money from them. And it passed this last time, and in 2022, it's going to be up to $11, which if you look at per capita income, that'll make Arkansas the highest minimum wage in the nation. And so you had a bill. It's gotten out of committee to try to address some of these concerns of small business owners. And why don't you tell us what that bill will do?
Well, the first bill is 1752, and it's a straightforward bill. We are adding a little bit of language to make sure that everybody understands we're not going back. We're keeping the minimum wage at $9.25, and all that does is address the voters spoke. We got that part. But I don't think the voters intended to hurt their small businesses or their nonprofits. Mm-hmm. I'm convinced they didn't walk in the voting booth with that intention at all. And there's always unintended consequences with even the best bill or anything that you do, there's always an unintended consequence. And this is to address that. And it's a very tightly done bill. It's 2 whole pages. So it's an easy read. And all it does is say that when the next increase comes, which will be in January, it'll be $10, and then the next January it'll be $11, that small businesses and nonprofits will stay at that $9.25. Now, that doesn't mean a business won't be giving raises. Not at all, because if you get good people these days, you'd better be giving them something because you're going to have to compete in the job market. That's the real world. But if you're a small business under 25 or a nonprofit, you're not going to be able to keep up with those big increases. For example, the Boys and Girls Clubs all over the state are having to look at cutting back hours. They're having to look at cutting back programming. Well, that's a big deal, and there are a lot of small daycares. They're looking at cutting back, but also they're having to raise prices. That's just a natural reality of recouping costs. So, and a lot of small businesses, you can only raise prices so much before people start to say, I think I'll just do without that.
Yeah.
So, they have to pay payroll, taxes, insurance. That eats up the bulk of your revenue.
Yeah. So
you're going to start shrinking, and the first place you shrink is on your employees. That's just a natural process.
And
a little here, a little there.
Yeah, and this is not something that, if you're not a small business owner, this is not something that the average person is going to think about because they just really haven't had, they don't have a small business.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not a bad thing. We want more people starting small businesses, and that's where our big businesses come from. I mean, Walmart started with a small 5 and dime.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
you've gotten a lot of criticism. We're talking with State Representative Robin Lundstrum on the left. I will repent. I did read the Arkansas Times article. I shouldn't have, but no. So they were upset with how it was done at a committee, and I think that was a little misleading because you guys are meeting at night now all the time because it's towards the end of the session.
Sure, but that committee, I sat in that committee to wait to run my bill from 9 o'clock in the morning. I was in that committee. I stepped out to run a bill and go to my committee and went back in. They were in from 9 o'clock in the morning until 6 in the afternoon. They failed to report that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Just to make it look like you're trying to do something underhanded.
Yes. We have live streaming of all of our committees. You don't get to say it one way when it's really not true. Mm-hmm. That was not true. Those committees, some of them start at 8 o'clock in the morning and don't end until they end. And right now, when I left yesterday, public health was still going.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
And we've had late-night meetings like that a lot, and towards the end of session, because you don't want session to go on forever, and you don't want us down there forever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to kill us to do that. People work at their businesses well into the evening, and a lot of us are business owners, so we get it. But it's all on live streaming.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about how, there was all this negative press about you and about this bill and trying to thwart the will of the voters and this kind of stuff. And then almost immediately, the Republican Party of Arkansas issued a statement saying that they didn't support what you were trying to do. And then the governor has also said that he doesn't support it. But I'm assuming you still plan to have this thing run on the House floor at some point.
Yes, I do. The governor is entitled to his opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. I've met with the governor. We had a very cordial meeting. He said he's made his statement, and he doesn't plan to do anything more about it. He's going to just let the system work, and I appreciate that. He's just going to just let the House and the Senate take it up, and that's the end of that. He appreciates where I'm going, but we agree to disagree.
Okay.
So, as far as the party's concerned, I think they just they made their statement, and I'm going to go make my case and keep on going. I am a proud Republican, but that they can have their opinion too. I think this is the right thing to do to try to help small businesses, and these nonprofits need help. I'm worried about my teenagers. I want those kids to have, that's the second bill, I want those kids to have an opportunity. Nobody's going to hire a 16-year-old at $11 an hour. And that bill, it is only for 16, 17, 18, and 19-year-olds. We took out the 20 and 21. By that time, those kids are going to be, they're not kids anymore, they're going to be in college. We took out the education component, so it's just a very clean, straightforward bill. What that is they will start at the 925. I can give you a great example. There's a huge water park in the States. I think it's called Kings Ranch. No, I can't remember the name. Anyway, they have to hire 62 kids just to open the doors every summer.
Wow.
They've already had to raise their prices just to keep up with this minimum wage increase. Well, a family of four, that's going to be difficult. If it goes up and up and up, they're going to have to raise their prices each year.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to find some way to deal with this. And this is going to impact also every nonprofit that hires teens. Well, you've got to go out and raise more money.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate what you're trying to do, or talking with State Representative Robin Lundstrum, and I'm excited. I think it's good that it got out of committee, and I'm hopeful that it'll get out of the House. How in the interactions that you've had with your colleagues, other Republicans who are members of the House, are they supportive of this?
You know, a lot of them are very supportive. They get it. They get the economics of it, and they've heard from their nonprofits and small businesses too. And I don't know, because of the political optics, that if it'll get out or not. I've heard from some Democrats that have said, I may vote for this because I get it. I'm concerned about my nonprofits and small businesses. I may go home and campaign on this. And there's been some Republicans as well. But the political optics, because of the amount of heat I've taken, everybody's a little concerned that this is going to blow back on them. Because of the constant, it's the will of the people, the will of the people. You know, I get that. I'm not taking it back. All I'm trying to do is curb a little of the unintended consequences.
Yes.
And that's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
We always do that. We did it with alcohol, with prohibition. We've done it with marijuana. We do that anytime a law has passed in the state. If there's an unintended consequence, we try to correct a little bit of it.
Yes.
And over time, I mean, let's be logical. Over time, in about 4 or 5 years, this is going to come together, because the economics of it, in order to compete for good employees, you're going to have to bring your wages up But these businesses and nonprofits have got to catch their breath.
Let me ask you this. Is there a competing bill for this on the Senate side? I know Senator Ballinger, he initially got some of the bad press at the beginning of the session. Is there a difference between the two?
There is a difference between the two, and they pulled theirs back. And put it back on the table, so to speak, and just pulled it back off the deferred calendar. When I pulled mine, and just to say, hey, there's an alternative out here. You can choose A or B. We've talked about it.
Okay.
I appreciate them pulling theirs back up so people can see, hey, you've got choices. They're not running theirs right now. They're letting me go first to see how far I can get, and that's a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think people need to look at the bills. There's been some press out there that this is going to hurt disabled people. That's not true. That's in another section of the law. We would never lower wages on somebody disabled. This is straightforward, clean bills. We're having, in state government, we're going to have to make up the difference with the impact on minimum wage increase. It's going to cost us about $12 million. So the taxpayers are paying for this.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much for standing up, Robin Lundstrum, being willing to take the heat, being willing to communicate, on this program and to the voters, the merits of the bill, why it's a good bill in the face of all this opposition. And I certainly hope the Republicans of the House look at this, stand up for these nonprofits, stand up for these small businesses, and let's try to, like you said, kind of tweak what the people voted on. I really appreciate you coming on this morning, Robin Lundstrum.
The Republicans of the House have been wonderful, encouraging, but they also see the heat and the political blowback, and I just can't thank my colleagues enough for even giving me a shot to try.
Absolutely. State Representative Robin Lundstrum, we appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Take care.
Yes.
Bye-bye.